right. Background fills. It's not all overs, whatever that is that you guys call. Yeah, yeah. When you are working with those types of things, there's a miscommunication with them. And I'm not sure if you had the art or was it one of the other ladies that had the art class. I don't know. But stipple, what you all term as stipple, really is a technique in art of dots. And they use the dots to create shadowing. Okay? That's what stipple means. That's why a stipple brush, you know what those are? That's what it does. Okay, does that make sense? Now the long armers have taken and created their own lingo. And stipple to you all means maybe this shape. Okay? And stipple just means to make it close together. Has nothing to do with the shape. This is actually a serpentine stipple. So stipple is a title for a bunch of different designs. Does that make sense? Right. All right. So we all have to start communicating properly. So the first one that we have was what? Micro stipple, right? Okay. And it's micro. Did I do that right?
Yes, you did.
See, I told you if you're in my aura, I can get it. All right, micro stipple. Now, what size would that be?
Tiny, very tiny thing. My name's Scotty West.
Do you know that tiny is different for one person than it is for another? So tiny's not a good explanation, is it?
Microscopic.
Okay, if you look at your little fingernail, it's about 1/4 of an inch, right? Whatever your size of your little fingernail is that. So this is right. The biggest space that's left open average is about 1/4 of an inch on micro stipple. Okay? So that gives you a real explanation, so we're all communicating properly. Okay, what is the next one? Just stipple, right? Okay, what size would that be?
Bigger.
Half inch. It's a half an inch. It's a half an inch. So that's the biggest, well, it doesn't mean everything has to be half an inch. It's just the biggest open space is a half an inch. Okay, does that make sense? These are great explanations, aren't they? And it's something that's really important. Okay, communication is bigger than anyone really understands. So what would number the third size? And let them kind of guess a little.
Well, arch stipple.
Okay, what was this? Okay, background fills. And this is very important. I tell you, see, you don't even have to say anything. Isn't that cool? And I went to the right brain, so I'm picking it up. Yeah, this is left. That's right brain. Huh?
I can hardly print, but I have to, write in cursive.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What would be the next one? All overs. Is this making sense to everybody? And that's at 2 inches. Do you see how it's doubling every time?
Right.
Okay.
I'm for the all overs.
Huh?
I said I'm for the all overs.
Yeah, all overs are really important. I mean, that's really where you make money. Okay. You do a lot of all overs with your Statler, right?
That's all I do.
Edge to edge.
Edge to edge. I don't do any custom for my customers.
Well, all overs and edge to edges are a little bit different in size. Yeah, all overs are every 2 inches, no more than 2 inches open. And the next one, what did we have? Panto with edge to edge. And a good panto, and you can add insight to this class because you know this. A good panto does what?
Covers well.
Whoop, I didn't do that right.
Without having a lot of gaps in it.
But it's spaced correctly, right?
Yeah.
And this is edge to edge. And that's no bigger than 4 inches. Right? Wouldn't a good panto be that? Yeah. And they're usually with rhythm. So a bad edge-to-edge or panto will have you stop and start too much, or have you do weird things without a rhythm. And repeating the same shape over and over again is a good panto or edge-to-edge. Okay, what's the next one? Okay. What would the next one be? Huh? All overs too are well, anyway, we'll do that later. What would it be? Meander. Okay.
A lot of people call me, use meander for everything.
Yeah.
They're wrong.
I know.
6 to 8 inches space left open. Okay?
It's a lot of space. I don't need that much space. So I must be
So you're
almost
doing
to
something.
why meander's just above it.
Well, meander just means you're just not really doing a shape. Yeah, la 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 la. Did I spell that right?
So you could do something in between your 6 and 8 inches, and it would still be a meander.
Well, the biggest space that's open is 6 to 8 inches. Doesn't mean that it's all 6 to 8.
Right, okay.
It just means that's the open. Okay, what would be the next one? I really think I need 8, and I haven't figured out the word for the.
Oh, no, it gets worse.
I think there's one in there's. I think there's one right here. Is what I think. I'm going to. As I do everything. It's, I'm in charge in my world, so there you are. Okay, so what is the next one? Don't give it up.
I won't.
Like we need not a filter.
I'm going to just give it to you.
Good. We could be here all day.
Just working on this board. Crap.
Yeah, you have to have crap. You have to have a place to put it. Does that make sense?
Here.
I've done crap quotes when I first got my machine, and learning how they didn't set it up right. Yeah, so there's nothing else I could call it but crap. Okay, the point of this is that once we have a place to file things, don't you think that's a good thing? I'm going to go over how the brain works. We've got left brain, and we have right brain, okay? And what I just did here goes into which brain? Okay, now to be creative, we have to make left brain check out. Okay? True, huh? Okay. So what did I do there for your left brain?
Made a list, quantified it.
I gave you filing cabinets for information. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, so can you all visualize that, or are you just visualizing the words?
Oh, you can see it.
Okay. So what's going to happen if when the left brain relaxes, what's going to happen here? Basically, what is in the right brain? What's in there?
Fun.
Creativity.
Creativity. Did I do it? I just love it when they get in my energy field. Don't have to do anything. Okay, what else is in there?
Spontaneity.
Yeah, there's options, right? There's really no options in the left brain unless you put them there. There's no options. So I just gave you 7 more options because when I asked you guys in the first question or I explained stipple, you only had one option, right? And there was no place to file anything. Really? Does that make sense? There was too much confusion about it. And with the left brain, if you don't give it a filing cabinet, it won't let you be creative. What's in the left brain?
Logic, rules.
Logic's not in the left brain. Rules, it's a filing cabinet. Logic, when you're logical, it's a left brain behavior, but you have to learn to file things to make it logical. And that's a right brain thing. To generate this is a right brain thing. Does that make sense? Because the left brain, all it can do is file. There's ego. Ego, fear, resistance, what else?
Excuses.
There you go. Procrastination. None of you have that problem.
No.
And procrastination sometimes looks like you're not inspired, right? What else does it look like?
Being forced to do something you don't want to do.
Because you were inspired to say yes when you should have said no.
Something in you was saying yes when something was saying no.
Yeah, well, peer pressure usually is that.
I think fear and procrastination are really close.
Yeah? Really close. Yeah, most people procrastinate because they're in fear. But procrastination is, I think, worse than fear. Because it's saying you're right. And fear is almost surrender, kind of. So you have a little bit more power with fear than you do procrastination. Yeah, yeah. So where do we want to be? To do this kind of work, where do we want to be?
Right.
We want to be here. And the only way to be here is to itemize, in a very permanent way, the information that comes in. And that's what that does. Okay, I'm going to take these bad words off because they take my energy away. And I call the left brain, they are little brains. Because you can only think like that. You know true left brain people? Do you all know them?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And do they have any options in life? They work by a schedule always, right? And they have to have coffee at a certain time. Like my husband, he's very left brain, but he is creative in certain ways. He always has to go to McDonald's to eat. And he has to buy the same thing, and he buys the dogs the same thing. To the point that he won't even, if I'm home, he won't even go get me something. He'll buy something for the dogs, but not for me. So what has happened? He's not doing it intentionally, but he will. He's the craziest man. He'll buy them, Egg McMuffins and not get me something because I'm not home every day. So why did he do that? Because he's a very kind, wonderful guy. Why would he do that?
He's left brain.
Because it's habit.
Is that the same reason why a guy will go to the grocery store and only get what's on the list and not everything you need?
Well, it isn't specific to men because he's right-brained.
Oh, true, yeah.
It's all lies.
It isn't, but most men are definitely trained to be left-brained, dominantly. And a lot of quilters, piecers, you all know those piecers, that all they can do, yeah, you're a piecer. Yeah, well, I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to say anything, but you definitely tilt to the left.
Something to the right.
You're trying really hard. First thing she said is that she was afraid this morning. First thing.
But
Yeah.
I do a lot of piecing because I do a lot of project lines quilts and yeah, get them done and get them out the door. That's all you do is piece. So I do different stuff.
Do you time yourself?
No,
No, you just push.
I just do it.
Okay.
I think sometimes that I do that because I need to give my right brain a break.
A break. Yeah.
Your right brain doesn't need a break.
Oh, darn.
It doesn't. It needs better systems. If you feel like your right brain needs a break, it just means your systems aren't in place. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because it's the left brain that gets tired, never the right brain. Ever. I've never known a point when my right brain was tired. It's always my left brain that gets tired. Always. Because I have to sort too much. The right brain has all the answers anyway. Yeah, we just have to remember. Yeah, so it's the battle between the two that gets you tired. Does that make sense?
It's a constant battle.
Yeah, well, creative people have that.
Battle between having to do what you have to do and what you want to do.
Yeah, we're going to go over that today. All right. Okay, so now we go over, because you have to have two lists. We have size, which is equals what? What does this equal? Density.
Density.
Does that make sense? Did I do that right? Wow! So microstipple would be dense, right? Stipple would be a little bit less dense. Background fills, a little bit more open. So density equals what? Density equals time, doesn't it? Okay. And what does time equal?
Money.
I love business people. I'm going to blow your mind, though, in a little bit.
I'm hoping you will.
Yeah. I'm going to shake you to the core. All right. So density equals time equals money. All right? Does that make sense? So if our machines aren't working properly, what happens?
You lose time. And it's money.
Right. And what?
Energy.
Inspiration for fighting it. So it's really important to make sure. Yeah, you get frustrated. Who gets frustrated, the right brain or the left?
Left brain.
Yeah, the right probably has the solution. You're just so busy being frustrated that it won't come.
Try to find out what it is.
All right, so let's do our other list. I'm just going to do A. Okay. And we already know the answer for this because she has it on the paper. But these are styles of quilting. All right? So let me put styles. This is density, and this is styles. Okay? So what would be the most pristine style of quilting?
Straight lines.
Huh?
Straight lines.
Whole cloth. You cannot do whole cloth without being accurate.
That's true.
You can't do it. Nothing there to hide. Some people do whole cloths and they're really crappy, but that's not the whole point. If you're choosing to do a whole cloth, it's to experience that pristine stuff. Does that make sense? So what would be the next? I better make sure I'm not telling lies. Yeah, okay. What would be the next? We're just going to give it to you. The reason I ask these questions for you all to figure things out is that I'm creating a vacuum for the information to go in. So I don't expect the right answer, I just expect a vacuum. And how that looks is I don't know. The minute you say I don't know is when you can learn. If you think you know everything, you can't learn. Does that make sense? Yeah, is that scary?
The problem is my filing cabinet's so full, I can't get much more in there.
Well, you need to purge some of those files. You know, after 7 years, the government doesn't even care if you have it. So I don't know. Now, when is your birthday, sweetheart?
Yesterday.
Happy birthday. For real?
74.
Oh my gosh, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
So what sign is that? Scorpio?
Scorpio, yeah.
Ooh, fiery.
Yes.
Uh-huh. When's your partner's birthday?
May.
May what?
May 11th.
Taurus. Oh my goodness. How long have you worked together?
I gave birth to her.
Oh, mother-daughter. Ah.
First 2 months I could have killed her with great joy.
In the business?
No.
When she was a baby.
She was a baby because she was number 4 and she was up all night and the other kids were up all day.
Are you the youngest? No, you're a middle? That's your saving grace right
Yes.
there. Because she's able to, yeah, and she's stubborn. That Taurus blood in her. Stubborn, yeah.
Well, Actually, she's
I'll have
not
to work on
really.
that.
She's not really.
So when is your birthday?
September 25th.
Ah, Libra. Attention to detail. Very good.
That's what she does.
And I'll for balance.
Very good. That's usually Libras can't even get to that point because they are so detail focused that they drive themselves nuts. So congratulations. They do. They do. The balance is so important that it just makes them crazy. There was an extreme Libra in one of my classes, and she was so off balance that she said she felt it wasn't right to, because she was right-handed, it wasn't fair to her left hand that it didn't learn to write too. And I'm thinking, oh my God, girl, you need help. It's medication. Yeah, and you know what I'm talking about, because Libras get that obsessive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, take a breath. What's your birth order, by the way?
I was the second.
And okay, so middle child. Middle children have to learn when they're young to work with things, so they can either go totally out of their minds, or they really learn to be balanced and proficient at things. Now, when's your birthday?
November 18th. Scorpio.
2 Scorpios. When's yours?
Early Pisces.
Okay.
And I'm Aries.
And Aries. Oh, all right. Kind of the same yesterday, wasn't it? We had a Leo in class. Yeah, I think I scared the living crud out of her. What was
My
that?
daughter's a Leo.
Ooh, I'm a Leo. Be nice.
Whatever is, I guess.
Mine? July 31st. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Styles of quilts. Whole cloth. The next one is traditional with applique. And you can see how that would be a little really less work than that. Traditional. I'm going to try it on my own. Did I do it? No. Really? Wow.
It's going to go for the gold. Yes, you did.
Well, no, I crossed the L. Well, it's just because you're sitting closer. Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm picking it up from you. Yeah. I know
Spell everything in my head.
it is really weird. I know it's really weird. I didn't know that I could do that, and I had this. I love stories, by the way. It gets you into the right brain. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not wasting time. Okay. But I had this lady in the class, and you can imagine, I don't know if any of you are born again in here, but when I speak of energy and that kind of thing, some people just get so afraid that they throw me right into that witch place. And she was a minister's wife, and she came into the class, and I had her help me like you, and she was like freaking out in the beginning. At the end, I could just stand next to her and spell every word. And she really got it that we are that connected. People are that connected. So if I can spell the words from your energy field, don't you think it can go the other way? You could quilt like me from my energy field.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, now think about that. Think about that. Doesn't that make sense? So why do you think we do all these videos?
You really are rubbing off on us.
Intentionally. And why do you think we do it in the first person? You know, you never very seldom see my face. Why do you think we do that?
So we hear you rather than see you?
Or yourself.
Just
When someone does videos and the camera's looking at them, and although that's what we're doing here, you're entertaining that person. When you go in the first person, you're actually teaching, not entertaining. Does that make sense? Yes. Also, the left brain is real stupid. It is so stupid that if you watch them about 3 or 4 times, it thinks it's doing it, it logs it in, and allows your right brain to actually do it. Yeah, yeah. I swear to God, it works. I swear, it does. And in golfers, when they do the videos like that, and they've even proven, watching the videos, that the muscles in the bodies burn or react to the video in the same way.
I'll attest to that.
What's that?
Well, when I used to semi-pro bowling,
Yeah.
I'd watch it and my hand or I would just do it. Like,
Yeah.
not even thinking about it.
Well, once the left brain gets out of the way, you know that little brain? That little brain? That's really about how much you're using in left brain, as opposed to this whole room would be, in comparison, the size of our, bigger in our right brain. So we just have to relax it. Yeah. So the little stories help your left brain to relax. Are y'all feeling better? Yes? Well, you were the worst one. Okay, I have to warn you, Scorpios have this tender belly, and I'm digging real deep with you. Yeah, you know you do. And she's letting me in. Like you as a Scorpio, you're not letting me in quite so much, but you will. You will. Yeah. They have this tender belly, and if you hurt them, oh my God. Yeah, you never forgive, do you?
That? Thanks, I haven't.
Okay, so what would be the next one?
Traditional without applique.
Just regular pieced, right? You're very good. And just pieced, right? Did I do it? Wow. D. What would the next one be? Don't tell. I'll look. Make sure I get it in right.
My handwriting.
Say, I don't know. Say, I don't know. Let the information in. It's hard for Americans to think they don't know, isn't it? Yeah. Who's in charge when that happens?
The ego.
Left brain.
Yes.
Because you need to make a category for I don't know, a whole filing cabinet. So you're free to learn. Does that make sense? So I don't know is huge, huge for creativity. Okay? So the next one would be traditional. With a twist. Whoop. I got it, didn't I? Yay. Okay, my stuff's there. Okay? My quilting isn't really there, my applique and like that stuff is there. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. What would be next?
I don't know.
Eventually, you're going to get into the art stuff. Contemporary.
Okay, just say I don't know. I just want you to learn to make that void, okay? So I don't know is the answer for all my questions. Okay, I just want to create the vacuum. And can y'all feel how the vacuum isn't, you're not comfortable with the vacuum. Can you say I don't know? Just say I don't know. I can't get anybody to really do it. Just say I don't know. Do you feel the bubble that happens? Okay, now the left brain wants to fill it, right? Okay, but it can't be filled until the right brain can fill it. Okay, so I don't know is the vacuum. Now I'm going to give you the answer. Okay? Are you ready? Okay, folk art. I know. And I consider Linda Taylor's this. You can consider it something else, but Linda Taylor is there. Folk art has more to do with the thread. It's a little bit more free-flowing. Does that make sense? Just like folk art. It's just chop, 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 right? Okay, and so it is thread-focused. So thread is really an important element. And it's thick thread. She used to use jean thread on some of her stuff. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about, but yep, it's just her art. All right, F. What's next?
I don't know.
Yay! Okay. Okay, we have art quilts. And although they might be more difficult, and I consider these fine art, like Hollis Chatelain stuff, where she's using the thread as a pigment. Does that make sense? So it's not just quilting, the thread's used as a pigment. And it isn't like the collage-y stuff. You have to be precise to do that kind of work, okay? Does that make sense? And it doesn't mean that This is more valuable than this. It's just how I had to give it a column because that flowed into that. Now we're starting basically another set. C, E, F, G. Okay, which G?
She's gonna tell us.
I don't know.
Okay, everybody say, I don't know. Okay,
It's the fine art quilts.
okay. So, no, we did fine art.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
We did
The collages.
Art. And these are the
Art
collages.
collage.
How do you spell it? I can't.
Collage.
Okay. And that would be like Cindy Walters, snippets, that kind of stuff. Okay, does that make sense? A little bit more free-flowing. And most fiber artists land right here. So the quilting isn't as important as the fabric, yet they might do thread play and that kind of a thing. I have a really good friend, her name is Terry White, and she does thread play, and she kind of fits with that and that together. She skipped that. 'Cause her stuff's a little folk arty, but it has a lot of thread work. So that combination. Okay, now A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. See, I have to go clear through the alphabet. Isn't that awful? Okay, H.
I don't know.
Perfect. Okay, what is it?
It's the free form quilt.
Free form. No limits, right, on free form. Okay, so it's usually about color. Free form's more about color than anything. So we just have to have a category. Okay, H-I. What's next, honey?
Crap.
Oh, did we go to crap?
Yeah, you went
Right there?
Crap at I.
Okay, see, I think there's one missing, but that's okay.
Well, we can do a J.
Okay. No. We'll just go to crap.
H.
We all know those crap ones. G's Benz, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, somebody made a ton of money off those poor women. Did you hear there's a lawsuit with that? Yeah, the guy never paid him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm.
So sad.
Yeah, that's
He might have had to pay, but there was some problems with what he was paying. It was like a pittance.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe.
Well, they did such a to-do about it.
Yeah.
Took him to the
They should have
Arby's
recommended
Sandwich and what have you, had a whole TV show and what have you, and
Well, I don't know that it had anything to do with all of that. I think it was the royalties on the books and stuff. So if you take a crap quilt and you quilt it with that, what's going to happen?
it's still crap.
Well, you might be able to make it look really good. You know, you could, but that's not what you're going to do, right? If you have a crap top, you can go up and down. Like if you do it edge to edge, it's going to look good, right? But it would be really, really not a good decision to do that on that. Can you see? So a freeform quilt, you can go up and down a couple of them, but you cannot do, well, you might be able to do some micro stipple in little tiny areas, but not everywhere. So the whole point is to when the quilts come in, you want to know what type of quilting to put in. Does that make sense? And you also need to know what density of the type of quilting. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, I'm sure there's a few other categories I haven't put in there. But this gives you at least something for your left brain to relax. So when a quilt comes in and you see it, like my quilts, that would be where? Art. Well, I make it into art only because I do that kind of work on it.
Yeah.
But if the top comes in, it's traditional with a twist. Because it's traditional with applique, but that's not really traditional, is it? So it has to be traditional with a twist. So at least you know where to plant it. So your left brain won't be confused as to what it needs. Does that make sense? So when you start organizing your designs or what you know how to do different things. Like there is no way if a quilt like mine comes in that you would do edge to edge on that. Would you? Well, some long armers have. I mean, you've gotten tops in that they told you to do edge to edge and it shouldn't have been done that way, right? And do they sign a release?
That's all they want to pay for, though, and 90% of the, well, 95% of the quilts that come in, for me, I do edge to edge because that's all I do for customers. Right. But most of the quilts don't deserve any more than that.
America is addicted. How do you spell junk food? J-U.
Get it done fast.
Quilting. Okay, they're addicted to this. And why are they addicted to that? That's what you're getting, is junk food quotes.
Fast and easy. Get it done and out of the way.
Why?
Something else. Everything else in our lives is that way too.
Really? Why?
Eat fast and
Why? Why?
Because of time. Because of time mostly. And also care. I mean, I made a quilt for my brother, and when I saw how he took care of it, I never ever wanted to make him a quilt either.
Well, yeah, I have the same issue. Yeah. But why are we addicted to this?
Just the way our culture has devised.
Okay, we're going to go through this. Quilting, you all have deep pockets, you know this, right?
oh yeah.
And the fabric people do a new line every 6 months.
At least.
You know, and you're not in the in group if you don't buy that new fabric, right? What's that guy's name that doesn't even quilt? He has an assistant teach. It's from Denmark or something like that. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah.
What does he do? Design fabric?
Sweaters and tapestry and that kind of stuff, and he designs fabrics. Yeah. Yeah, it'll come to me. But what happens is that all these teachers, because they want to sell more books, do what?
Marketing.
You guys are sold a bill of goods. We never do that, do we? What do we do? What do we do?
I work a lot.
We sell technique.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We sell techniques. We don't sell patterns. We may decide to sell patterns with the technique, but that's a whole different thing. And technique, where's technique in the left brain, right brain?
It's got to be in the right.
Technique is here.
Oh, really?
You can't get to the right brain without technique.
Oh, okay.
You can't. The minute technique becomes body memory, then it goes to the right brain.
Kind of like a bridge, right?
It is. It is. That's why you're here. That's why technique is so important. Well, you wanted to be scared too.
No, I wanted to do something more.
So, how many of you have met quilters that say, I know enough, I don't need to know anymore? What's happened? Where are they?
They're stuck.
You can never know enough. You can never know enough. And if you come in thinking you know everything you need to know, guess what? You know everything you need to know.
That's right.
Doesn't mean you know everything.
I'm sitting here.
Yes.
in the chair.
But technique is huge. Technique is everything. If you don't have technique, you don't have the car to travel to Shambhala.
That's what you need to do in the studio. That's your name for the studio.
You guys were in Shambhala yesterday, right?
I love it.
Yeah. The right brain. You can name your right brain anything you want. Mine's Shambhala. Yeah. Yeah. We need a website called Shambhala.
Yeah, I'll get right on it.
Okay. So without technique, you have nothing. Nothing. Walking is a technique, isn't it?
Yes.
How long did it take babies to learn to walk? Some did it right away.
All right. Not long enough.
This one, belly whopped until he was almost, belly whopped. One-legged. Just his right leg, and he kind of dragged the other one. I don't know what that was all about. So walking was a technique he wasn't willing to learn until he got around to it. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. So you got to have technique. There's nothing else. So what we teach is technique. And technique, you have techniques for each one of these, maybe 4 or 5 inside each one. They do cross over, but if you don't have the 5 techniques on doing a whole cloth, you can't do a whole cloth, or you're afraid to do it, right? What would the techniques be for a whole cloth? I'm going to take this down because I need to write these down. What techniques would you need to know for a whole cloth?
How to use the machine.
Well, that one's a good one, but there's other things before you even get.
Drawing.
Design and balance, color.
Yeah.
So first thing we need to do when we're doing a whole cloth is you need to get the cloth, right? So what would the technique for getting the cloth be? Shopping. Shopping. Shopping is a technique. You go and find places that are good, right? So we need to get the fabric first, which is the supplies, right? Does that make sense? What is another technique that you'd need for whole cloth? If you have the fabric, now what?
Thread. Or is that it's
Okay, you need to answer because they're going straight to thread and they skipped about 5 steps.
Do you need a design or a
Huh?
an idea? Design?
Yeah, your ideas.
Design.
You need your master layout, don't you?
Okay.
Designs don't do you any good unless you can put it together, right? So you need your master pattern. True?
That's what erasers are for.
Okay, but you need your master. Which is what? What is a master pattern? It's a map, right? How are you going to get from one corner to another without a
GPS.
They call it a Statler for quilting. That's a GPS for quilting. Okay, so you got to have your map, right? And how many of you will even go there? I want to do a whole cloth, but will you even get past that?
Yeah.
You know? And within that, you've got to have paper, you got to have the right pencil, you got to spend the time doing it, or buy somebody else's time. Okay, so what else? Just for the whole cloth, what else? What's after that? We have all the supplies. We have the master. What's after that?
Time and determination to sit down and
We know how to mark it right? The marking. And let me tell you something.
Takes as long as to quilt it, right?
This marking thing, Americans don't want to do it. They don't want to prep. And why?
Takes time.
because we're addicted to time.
It's money.
Oh, you guys are digging a big hole with that one. Okay, so marking's really important on everything unless you're going into this bottom place, you know. Okay, so what's next? If you need to mark, well, you need to know what pencils and make sure it washes out, all of that stuff. Okay, what's next? You actually have to do it, don't you?
Oh, really? We're not done yet?
No.
That's when it sits in the closet for 5 years.
It's when you want to go from concept clear to finished project is when it goes into a UFO. Okay, so we're at the marking, so we've got to know how to mark, right? So we're there. Now what? You got to decide if there's going to be trapunto or not. If you're doing a whole cloth, you better plan on trapunto in it, or else it's not going to look like anything, right? Does that make sense? So we have to know technique, right? Trapunto. And that equals technique, right? I don't think I got that right. CH? Okay. All right. What's after that?
You got to put it together and layer it.
You got to load it. You got to load it. And you all stopped here. You bought the fabric and maybe a little bit past here. Okay, you got to load it. Then you've got to do what? You got to be able to stitch it. TCH. I call this manifesting right here. You got to make it. You got to birth it, right? Okay, what's next?
Finishing.
Are we ready for our thread?
Too late for the finishing?
Well, that's with thread.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Unload it, find it.
Well, you've got to be able to block it, don't you?
Block it, that's true.
How many of you even know how to block? Do you see why things aren't getting done? You need to know what stuff to launder it in, and most quilters get so afraid that they're even afraid of washing their quilts. Okay, so they just steam them and they look like crap, okay? Then you've got to do the binding. And after that, if it's really good, you got to fill out forms to compete it, right? Okay, so then we have competing or completion, whatever. And then what happens if it's completed? Then you have to show everybody, right?
Do something with it, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Brag, show, whatever it is. That's when the fun stuff happens, you think. How many of you have competed in shows? Yeah, how did that work out?
I only did it once.
It's not easy. It is not easy.
Well, I went in with the intention of winning.
Woohoo, scary.
And I did. I won 3rd place in a national show, but it was so much work to do it that I just decided that I didn't want to do it again.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's not easy to do.
Lot of work.
And the reason it's not easy to do is that judging or competitions are all in the left brain, and a good quilt's made in the right. So you have to communicate all of these things to the judges to where they can actually categorize it to get a good score. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The problem is that no one's done this but me. So how are they going to categorize it? Yeah. So it's a crapshoot, and especially if you have celebrity judges.
Well, even at the fair, we had to work with our fair board to even, when the art quilts started coming out, and some of the ladies were trying to do art quilts, there was no category for it. It was like, what the heck is this thing? Well, you know, it was, nobody seemed to be able to come up with any.
Well, that's because they're in the left brain.
Yeah, and so they came
Yeah.
to the guild and said, well, what do you guys want? So we made up the.
Right, right. You had some sort of a file.
At least they allowed us to.
Well, the first time Hollis Chatelain won Houston, headlines in the Houston paper was, "Is this really a quilt?" God bless her. Can you imagine the kind of courage it took to do that? And she's won since, and it's been a little bit better. But I won't compete my painted pieces just because it's just too tender. It's just too tender. So it takes a lot of courage to get to that place. Huge. More than you ever know. Coming up to the judging, when you know they're in the judges' room looking at your stuff, I can't sleep. I get sick. I get so sick, and I get crazy. All of that stuff. You've got to know how you behave in those situations. And no offense to judges, but when I get those evaluation sheets back, I don't even look at them. My husband does, but if I don't do this, I do it in my mind. I just gather them all together, wad them up, and light a fire. Because a left brain, which is the judging, cannot evaluate a right brain something. It's too much. So whatever they say is going to be through their paradigm, so it has nothing to do with me. Literally has nothing to do with me. So I think, yeah.
I feel better now.
Yeah, has nothing to do, because they might be wise judges, but do they know what they need to know? I don't think so.
The piece that I had in there yesterday, it was what came from my heart.
And it hurts when they go left brain.
No, the whole meaning behind.
And they don't
the
care.
quilt itself.
They can't care. What do they have? A minute for each quilt?
Corners and this and just stuff.
Pretty lengthy yesterday.
Yeah. How many judges were involved?
3.
Really? Wow. Very good. All right. I want you to take your paper. And this represents like a queen size quilt, or maybe a double, right? Everybody with me? Okay, let's fold it in half. And when you get your quilts in, if you fold them in half, guess what you're going to know?
If they're straight.
I've had one.
One straight? Okay. So if you fold your quilt in half lengthwise, and one side is not even, what do you do with your customers?
Take them off your list.
You lug the quilt through it.
But the truth is that you'll know what you're getting yourself into, won't you? And if it's really bad, you can handle it. The problem with long armors or anybody in business is that they're doing it afterwards, when it actually gets on the table, and then they realize it's not square. And you got to do it in the beginning so it can get them fixed, or you can manage it. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so when the quilt comes in, you fold it in half. So we need to know where center is, don't we? On all quilts? All right. So if you fold it again, and with the quilt, so you'll have 4 folds on the top. And I know if you're in production that this might be hard. but then again, it might be really helpful. When you're actually doing a quilt, you want these folds to fit on the bed of your machine. Okay, so you can keep your quilt squared up from the folds. Does that make sense? All right, and we want to go the other way. And when you go the other way, we want it in thirds instead of, so there'll be 6 this direction and 4 this direction. Does that make sense? We want it as close to a square as possible. Okay, now when you go home, I would love for you to get a 60-inch quilt loaded on your machine with these folds put in the top. Okay, does that make sense? So you get a 60-inch muslin and do all these folds in it. Okay, it doesn't need to be accurate, just needs to be in, well, the folds do, but okay, we have that? Are you good? All right. Did you get it this time?
I did.
Yay! All right. What's the going rates out there, guys? You're in business.
2 cents a square inch for edge-to-edge quilting.
Okay, edge to edge.
3 cents.
Wait.
Separate board.
To edge is what? Equals
2 cents
2 cents.
per inch.
Okay, and
Edge to edge with a border. She said.
Edge-to-edge with a separate border is 3 cents. 1 separate border.
edge with border. And it doesn't matter what it is. 3 cents.
It's just 1 border. If they have 2 or 3 borders, it's a half a cent left for each border.
Okay, and what other price points?
I don't have any others.
That's it? Okay, so you don't do custom for anybody. Does anybody do custom?
I do 3 cents.
3 cents for custom.
Simple custom, up to 8 cents.
3 to 8 cents.
Simple, where you might do, it would be freehand, but you would be doing maybe 2 inch, 3 inch for simple custom, but it's freehand.
Do you all see how confusing this is? Okay, you need no less than 30 to 36 pricings. Why would I tell you that?
Is it just the different type of?
What was our first list? Look at our first list.
Density.
So how many are that? How many? 7 densities. And I think there should be 8, but we'll go 7. How many styles do you have?
9.
What's 9 times 7?
63.
So you really need 63. Don't you? So I only gave you half. Right? How many of you are really going to do that?
Wow, that's just amazing, but it makes sense.
Well, you're being honest.
I'm not, she's a professional, I'm sorry, I just do my own.
Okay, but you, oh, well, that's even a bigger question. Yeah. I'm just doing it for myself. Okay. Don't you need to know what you're going to do
For what?
for whatever it is?
I mean, the quilting or the price or the,
Well, if time is money,
right?
or time is what you all seem to be lacking, don't you need to know how much time it's going to take you to do a certain quilt so you can have time to do it? Or you're just going to wait for inspiration to come and smack you upside the head?
Load it and say, okay, now what, then go.
Yeah. Okay, if we're doing it, well, that's not relevant. You are important enough for you to know what your time is being used for.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And you're making yourself not important at all.
Oh, okay.
Do you see what you're doing? Yeah, because if you can make a decision on your time, what else can you do? You have control of your life,
Yeah.
but you don't.
No, I just.
You just wing it. And it looks good. It looks good, but is it? I don't think so. All right, so if we are doing a 10-inch square, how long does it take to do a 10-inch square? And my yesterday girls, don't give them the answer.
I don't think I could.
How many square inches are in that?
100.
Okay, so how long should that take you?
Depends upon what you do in it.
Uh-huh. Well, at the level you quilt at. I mean, you wing it.
Yeah, right. It takes 5 minutes.
Okay. Takes you 5 minutes, right?
Possible.
5 minutes. Okay, what density is that kind of quilting?
Oh, it's probably going to be minutes and all over an inch to inch.
It's not as big as a meander. You don't look as big as a meander.
No, I don't.
Probably between 2 and 4 inches. Yeah.
Huh?
So, heck, I don't know. I am not the math major in the family. Sorry.
Yeah. You know, I was in Australia, and Tracy Browning is one of the big long armors there, and her husband and her father-in-law and the family for generations has big farm out there. Well, in Australia, the only water they have is what comes from the sky. So they have done what, do you think?
Oh, it's historic.
They build their houses, and under their houses, instead of having basements, they have water storage under their houses. And they have that under everything. They have big barrels that when rain comes, it stores that. So you know it's not an easy life.
No.
Well, we were sitting at breakfast one day, or in the car, I can't remember exactly, and I was having the same issue with people. And I looked at him and I said, can you tell me how much exactly from start to finish, planting to delivering the product, how much it cost? The man within seconds could tell you. Not only that, could tell me on different types of growing plants or products.
Wow.
Why could he do that?
Because he was basing it on water.
He had to, or he would go broke.
Right.
And guess what you all are not doing? You don't have to, do you?
My life doesn't depend on that quilt.
So you did have-tos, but what you did is eliminate to do the have-tos, right? So you have two Statlers doing edge to edge, which is cool, but then are you doing anything?
I'm designing patterns, which is what I like to do.
But are you making your own quilts?
Very, very.
You want to do some quilts, don't you?
I do.
Okay. So in your situation, it's a little different because you're doing production. You got to keep that going. You're making patterns to make the money, but you're not making quilts. Why aren't you making your quilts? Why?
Because she isn't.
Because I'm not in control of my life.
All these things coming through the door control you more than you do.
Right. For my grandkids.
You just don't know. You simply don't know. You don't know how long it takes you to do whatever it is you want to do. Whether or not you charge, you don't know. Or else you could fit it in. How do you think I get my quilts done? I teach.
I wondered about that, and that's why I'm here.
This is how I get my quilts done. I teach anywhere from 40 to 55 different venues or different sets of classes a year. That's unheard of. Yet we have time to do videos. I have time to do quilts. All sorts of stuff. So why would I have time? And you guys, I have the same 24 hours. Well, I do jump time a little, but there you go. But why do I have it? And I'm never home. Why do I have it? And you all?
Because you use your time more effectively than I do.
I don't know that that's true. I spend a lot of time wasting.
Because you know how much time you need to make a quilt?
That's the answer. I do in a 3-inch square, takes me an hour. Spirit of Mother Earth, you have your calculator? Is 99 inches by 99 inches. How many square inches are in that? Huh?
Almost 10,000.
9,801
9,000. Takes me an hour.
to do 3 inches.
It's 1,000 hours.
So why was she asking you?
Because I wanted him to know too. So I know.
9 inches. Okay, never mind. No, my math is off.
See, what's happening is that right brain people do this. They get all wacky. So it isn't about getting a right answer.
Right.
It's about the process to the right answer. So I know that my quilts average, my competition level quilts average anywhere from 1,000 to about 1,200 hours to quilt one of my quilts.
That's just the quilting, not
That's
piecing
just
it,
the quilting.
and not putting that fancy
Right.
binding on there.
A binding takes 40 to 60 hours.
Wow. That's why I don't do them.
Okay? My kind of bindings.
Yes.
Okay. I know this. So if I only have an hour here and an hour there, guess what I'm going to be working on? And what happens when you only have an hour here and an hour there? What are you guys doing?
Wasting time.
Looking at it.
Trying to decide what to do.
Thinking about it.
Why?
Because we're not.
No.
We're just not focused and using our time efficiently.
You didn't have the categories.
Yeah.
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 You didn't have the categories. Say, I want to do a quilt for family. I'm not going to be putting 1,000 hours in it. So if I have a quilt that I have to get done for family or whatever that isn't at that level of quilting, I know how much how much time it takes to do something at a different level. So I can manage that time. Does that make sense to everybody? If a 10-inch square takes 5 minutes, you gave me that time, right? How long would it take for you to do a 60 by 60 inch quilt?
Not closer. 560 goes 12. No, 560 goes. What? That's what I
I'm coming
said.
up with
12.
180
180 what?
It's 180 minutes.
minutes. An hour and a half.
So why is it taking you guys so long? I'm trying to do this.
No, 180 would be 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
3 hours.
So why is it taking you so long? That's a long time on a 10-inch square.
Yes.
So why is it taking you so long to get a quilt done? How many of you have a quilt on your machine and it drags on for days? I'm sure it doesn't on yours, but you know, because you're doing edge to edge and the computer's doing it. But if you're doing a custom quilt, why does it sit at your machine? How long is the longest you've had a quilt sitting on your machine? Can I just tell you?
A couple of days, probably.
Yeah, and you pull it off and put something else on sometimes.
No.
You don't?
No.
Yay, good
Finish it
job.
and do it. Get it out of there.
Okay, and make sure you cuss at it too. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
That damn thing. Let's put that spiky energy in there.
Why doesn't it work by itself?
Well, you got to have a few extra dollars in it.
That's right.
All right, so how long for a 60 by 60? I'm not going to do this perfect, but you guys get the gist.
What did you say? It's 3 hours.
3 hours.
At what level of quilting?
Edge to edge.
You said it.
It's been 4 to 5. Yeah.
Do you all feel that void going on? You don't know.
Right.
You flat don't know.
Flat out, no.
You don't know what you're doing. Have no. Why don't you know?
Never took the time to even think about it until I really.
Yeah. Just
I'm just
sit out and start
after
it.
quilting for about 2 years for people, and I'm all of a sudden realizing
That you don't
I
know.
have no control control of my time whatsoever. I don't know how long I need every day and when I should be getting up in the morning and saying, okay, today I'm going to only quote for 4 hours because I got other things to do today. And I haven't made a quote for myself.
I haven't done
And
anything other
the
than-
pain that's in you is huge.
It's very,
It's huge. It's really bad, isn't it? Because
Well,
you didn't come
it
into
really
quilting
bothers
to
me.
do that.
no, I didn't. I didn't. I wanted to help people and do fun things with quilts, but I.
That's not why you came. Okay, do you see what's happening? So why did she come into quilting? And why is it such a mess?
Because I'm a
You don't see that pain. You don't see that pain in me, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so why, and I'm pretty good at what I do. Why don't I have that pain?
People aren't taking advantage of you.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Only the ones who laugh.
He doesn't. He's the one and only in the whole group. Well, here and there, but not much.
I don't know. I feel like it's my
We're
fault.
letting
I
them
haven't
do it to us.
gotten
We're
control
giving
of
them the opportunity.
Why do you let them? What is the real reason why you let them?
Because you want them to like you.
We're a mix.
You want to please.
Yeah, you want to please other people. I know I'm a people pleaser. I spend more time.
Well, you were meant to be on the earth to be a people pleaser, so there's nothing wrong with that. Don't go there. Don't go there. We're meant to please each other. We're meant to be that. That's why it's such a driving force. Why we actually give ourselves up to help other people. We're meant to do that as human beings. But why do we cheat ourselves? That's a whole other song and dance. Why are we? I feel like Oprah. I need to be on Oprah. Okay, so why do we cheat ourselves? What is the real reason we cheat ourselves?
Well, I guess I'm not at the top of the list.
We don't value.
My values.
No, I don't believe that crap.
All right. Well,
I don't know.
I don't think I know.
I don't know why I do it.
I just do it.
Don't know.
Because our left brain is in charge. You think you can manage it, you make a schedule, you go maybe 2 days on that schedule, and then you burn out, right?
Oh, that's true. I do.
Yes.
So you think your left brain should be in charge of it, but it's the right brain that needs to be in charge, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so little brain can't do it. And you keep trying to make little brain do it. And then what happens?
Get off and don't even begin.
Then your self-esteem goes down, doesn't it? So, how do we get our self-esteem back up? Did you know you're having a psychological class?
The way that I do it is that I spend Sundays quilting only for me.
Yeah.
That's my intention, but I end up not doing it. I set out to do that, but it really does feed my soul when I do that. And then I'm re-inspired and ready to go again.
Okay, and those are, you probably do. You probably do, but it's so sporadic that there's nothing consistent feeding you back in. So why don't I have that stuff going on, like you all?
Tell us your secret.
First off,
You spend time in your right brain.
I do. First off, I'm a teacher first. So I'm doing what I love. I don't compromise that. Okay? That's why it looks like I'm having fun. Because I am. Okay, so I'm a teacher. You're a designer first. But you still got to make money, right? Okay, so that makes me happy. I have my values organized correctly. Does that make sense? I'm an artist second. Does that make sense? It does not make the teacher any less more valuable. Art never. The art supports my teaching. So I have to establish that. So if you are a designer first, put it there first. But don't take your artist out of you, which is kind of what you're doing, right? You're just doing the sketches and that's it. Maybe stitching them out. Yeah, that's mass production. Okay, so the art, for me, I have the artist is second. What's after that?
Everything else.
I think maybe your family or your personal self-power.
Well, the thing that left brains get all disorganized with is that you cannot be a wife, a mother. You cannot be those things without being happy with yourself. It's impossible. So I had to do this. And then the whole me is the mom and the wife. Does that make sense? But if my spirituality is not first, with all of that, nothing happens. Spirituality is creativity, is it not? What are you all stopping? For what? Left brain crap. Yeah. And when you create a void, which is the confusion thing, guess what happens?
Not much.
Everybody else tries to fill your void because you have nothing in your void at all. Does that make sense? Yes. Yeah, they do, because they don't want to be in charge of them. So back to quilting. We can control this. But I tell you, the minute you get your quilting under control, your life will be under control. Because that's your passion, isn't it? That's why you're here? Okay, and it's just an example of your life, right? So if our life represents a 60-inch square piece of muslin, and we can go in here and time that, does that make sense? Guess what we're going to be able to do?
There's a lot of time left.
You're going to be able to say no when you really should say no. Not just being ornery, my Scorpio girls. Because you say no just to say no, but not really meaning no.
Because I'm dangerous.
But we can't say no effectively unless we have those categorized. All right, now in quilting, if we are doing a quilt like this, we want to plan a timing quilt. So we actually get in there and time it. So we divide it up 10-inch squares, and we want to price even from 1 cent, which is crap quilting. You might have to do a set of 4 to do crap quilting and get a timing. But you want to do 1 cent, clear through. Okay? So how long would it take you to do a 10-inch square at 1 cent? Now, I'm going to add something else. You all should be making, even if you're doing it for yourself, you should be making $60 an hour. So if I'm charging 1 cent for a 10-inch square, how long should it take me at $60 an hour?
That should go really fast. You're only making a penny.
$60 an hour is $1 a minute.
5 minutes to make 1 cent.
So if we're charging 1 cent, how long should it take us? 1 minute equals $1.
Yeah. So it's going to be 60 minutes.
No.
$5 a square.
One square is $1. Is that what you're saying? And there's 60 squares? No, there's $60. Oh.
You should make $60 on the one quilt if you can finish it in an hour.
Right.
Ah, gee.
There's actually 36 squares in here. So 36 squares. I haven't gotten the answer yet.
2 minutes or less.
Does anybody have the answer? How many square inches are in that? So you get $1 for that, right?
Oh, okay. 1 cent per square inch.
Right. Not 1 cent for 10.
Okay.
1 cent, you get $1.
Okay.
So there's 36, you get $36. So you should be able to do it in a half an hour. Do you know how many people are charging 1 to 2 cents?
Most people are not making $60 an hour.
You are in business. Can I just tell you, even if you're not in business, you're in business to run your life, right?
Right.
If you're not making $60 an hour, you're in the poorhouse because you've got medical bills, you've got insurance, all of those things that you have to pay. If you're not at least doing that much going out the door, how much out the door per day for you?
I don't know. I have a bookkeeper that keeps track of that.
That's the part I don't like about the
I know, but you need to know.
Yeah.
Not keep track. You need to know how much money you need to make every single day.
I don't know about daily, but I think when I brought my machine home from the shop, I think our electricity for that one room went up almost $35. So another $1 a day, $1.25 a day, just in electricity. And then the heating vents and audiobooks.
You don't need to count the money. Can I just tell you, you don't need to count. That's what accountants are for. But what you need to know is how efficient you are, right? So you have no idea how much every single day you take in? There's no average. How much a week?
Well, I have the website too, so I have what they call multiple streams of income. And then I do teaching sometimes too, but
Right.
teaching is my least favorite thing to do.
Right, right. So, but you don't know.
I don't.
Isn't that kind of scary?
She just knows it's there.
free. It's actually free. I don't even know how to bounce a check.
I never bring this up, but because you're a professional, I'm going to bring it up. My first business was very successful, 130 employees. And because I didn't know, my bookkeeper stole over $2 million from me and put me out of business. Because I was where you were, and no one told me I had to know. And the way I found out is I decided I had to know, and I kept track every single day. And when what was shipped out and what came in didn't match, I went and found it. So, girlfriend, you need to know. You need to know.
That happened to my dad too.
Yes.
His bookkeeper did the same thing. Not that everybody's like that, but
No.
it's so easy when they go, they don't have a clue.
Yes.
Let's mark that off.
Right.
And it just happens.
Well, the man, and I don't want to dwell on it too much, but the man went in and he paid payroll taxes to himself in his own, his account out of our $36,000 a year. He would file for that money to come back, and he even used the government to steal from us. Yes. So you need to know.
It wasn't fun.
It was not good. You need to know. Whether or not, I'm not in charge of the money. I'm not in charge of the money, but I know. Does that make sense? Big difference. Big difference. So you want to be where I'm at, where you can be creative, but you cannot not know. You have to know.
Well, I know I'm doing really well. I just built
I can feel that, but
5,000 square foot house on my.
I can feel that you're doing well, but you could do twice as good without working twice as hard if you know. Truly, truly. Okay, is this making sense to everybody? Now, if you're doing your own quilts, why would this be important to know?
You can value your quilts.
You can value, but you can also, if you're doing mostly charity work, you know what you can write up. What you can write up.
Well, and it's not about money, but time is money, remember our formula? So if you have a quilt and you know you only have 2 to 3 hours to do this quilt, and you've done your timing squares, and you can go back and look at it and say, I did that in that amount of time, do you know what kind of quality of work you're going to be able to put in that, don't you? Does that make sense? Then what happens? When you have control of that level of quilting in a piece, are you going to put that piece on the machine and not do it when you know there's an end? Does that make sense? Gives you control of your life. And it all boils down to doing a timing. Also, what you get from the timing, there's many other things that's really, really important. But you get from the timing, you actually have something visual, which is really good for customers, if you have customers. Even better for yourself, because you are communicating with which side of the brain? You are taking, this is your technique to go from left brain to right brain. Okay? And guess what's in right brain? Inspiration.
Inspiration.
Does that make sense? And you know your first list? That's what you need to do over there.
Can I ask you a question? I literally, should I go home and go, okay, I'm going to do micro stippling and see how long it takes me to do it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm wanting.
Yes.
And figure out, okay, that took me 20 minutes or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
And do each step the way
Yes.
I think.
Yes. Yes. And you have to. And what else does it give you? If you are sitting there doing that, what are you getting, really?
I'm practicing. I'm
You're
getting
getting knowledge.
You're getting knowledge.
So,
How would you, if you were doing it for production level, would you create like a photo album of
I'd put them on a ring.
this density is this price for this square inch and have just like 60 images of what you do?
Right. And do a timing for each one. And the thing that happens when you get, huh?
I just feel better already.
Because you're communicating with the right brain. And you can't get out of the left brain until you do something physical. You have to. You can't just draw a picture, and that's good, but you've got to do it physically so you can actually see it in the end result. So that that communication will make a big difference. Does that make sense? Huge difference in the way you behave in your life. Because when you go to your sewing machine and you've got a quilt to get done, you also know at what density you're going to quilt it and at what expertise you're going to quilt it. So the decision to getting it done is not there anymore. You already have a finish. The reason people don't get things done in a timely manner is because they don't have starts and finishes. Okay? So if you have folded your quilt or your fabric, all quilts, in this way, you know you've timed to where you want to do this in 3 minutes. Right? You've got a quilt, not your timing squares, but a regular quilt. You're going to do that one in how many minutes? Maybe 3.5 the first time, because you're a little rusty, right? 3.5. The next one you're going to hit 3. The next one maybe 2.5, right? The next one maybe 3. Next one 2. Next one 3, because you go up and down like that. Guess what's going to happen? You have a start and a finish for an area. For areas, this is really important. Start and finish, start and finish, start and finish. Guess who's going to be motivated at the end to actually advancing to the next row? Neil and I think a lot alike, and when I'm working on my machine, I actually have a notepad, and I have a stopwatch, and I stop and start. And it doesn't really matter what I'm doing, it's just my stops and my starts, and I keep a tally of it. And he comes in one day, do you remember when you came in and saw my tally pads? And he goes, "Oh my God, Mom, I do that too." And because for us, it's very difficult to time certain sections, but we can keep track of our time. And the only way that it works for me to stay as disciplined as I need to is to keep track of my time.
Do you find that you attempt to better your time?
Yes, always.
So it's almost competitive?
Yes, I compete with myself. Yeah. Does that make sense? And how many minutes would it take to go clear across that?
17 minutes.
17? And the next row you would do in maybe 16. Then you go back up to 18. Then we go...
Wear yourself out.
Well, you might have to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
Okay, and if we're taking a lunch break, you have to start all over. Right at center usually is the hardest time for people because it's going uphill to the center. Once you hit the center, the motivation goes up a little bit more. And if you have the folds, you know when you hit center, so you can get a little bit faster. So you might go 20, maybe. Back down to 17. And at the end, you're lollygagging a little bit, so maybe 18. How much total would it take to do this quilt? At 3 minutes, basically.
6 minutes. Less than 2 hours.
And why is it taking you guys so much longer to do quilts?
Because the phone is ringing. And I'm answering it.
Well, I'll spend a half hour just pinning the dumb thing in, and that's never going to happen again.
Yeah. You're answering phones. Well, you have a whole other thing happening for you. You may need to get somebody to help you answer phones because that's stealing a lot of your time. Yeah. If you don't have to have yours is different, so don't take this way. But if your phone goes to the answering machine,
That's dead.
huh?
That's dead. Because he's dead.
And you're not stopping. The only reason people can't produce at a $60 an hour rate is because of the distractions, not because they can't do it.
Right.
And most quilts in the long arm world take about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours, right? 2.5 to 3 hours. And that's pretty much everybody in this room. So why aren't you getting 2 quilts done a day, 2.5 done a day? What's happening?
Lunch.
Really? Really, what's happening? What is really happening?
You're losing control.
You can't say no when you need to say no.
Right.
Okay? And if you could do, how much would you charge for a quilt like that?
You can do 2 of them a day,
At 3 cents, 3 minutes for this,
3 minutes.
which is $3 for a 10-inch square. Right?
You said it was 106 minutes?
So, how much? 36 times 3 is what?
108.
Is that it? That's about right, isn't it? That's on the low end.
Yeah.
So $108. All right? You should be able to do really 3, you know. Right? 3 quilts. Let's just go 3. Yeah.
325, yeah. Lowest 324. Yeah. If you got that.
A day.
Are you counting it as an 8-hour day or a 14-hour day?
No, that's what, 3 hours. And if you're going pretty quick, that's right at 9, right? If I'm paying somebody to come in and work for me, they better be doing that.
Yeah.
All right? Or why?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay, so 300, would you all like, if you're not doing it for customers, would you like that much time? So why are you all working part-time or living part-time when you should be doing it right full-time? What's taking the time? Do you want me to tell you? What was the first request we had when you walked in the door? Cell phones.
So, yes.
Do you know how much time is stolen with just your cell phones over stupid stuff? Okay? Good for you.
I would take it most of the time.
In a business, what's happening now in business is that personal cell phones are no longer allowed in business. Also, internet is not allowed. Solitaire on the computers is not allowed. Why?
It takes time away from
Steals time. I had, and I told this yesterday, but I was teaching a long arm class, and the lady went to the restroom. She was there 40 minutes. Missed 40 minutes of the class. And I sent somebody to go see if she was okay. I thought, maybe she's sick. She's in there texting on the toilet. Then she came out, started working on the machine. She goes, oh, my thumbs are hurting. And I'm going, okay. She had not connected the dots. Not connected the dots. Then the woman was married to a doctor, and she's helping run his office. Then we started talking about the phone issue and how phones and all this. She says, well, I don't let my employees do that. And I'm thinking, you hypocrite. Yeah. You came to my class and you did it to me. I bet your employees are doing it to you. Sure. So it is those things that steal the time away from you is the reason you're not making that much money.
Golden websites.
That doesn't steal. That's our job. But you know what I'm saying?
I don't go to as many as I used to.
Right. So when you do your timing, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get control of this. Okay?
shopping on the internet is probably my biggest waste of time. So that's probably just as bad as solitaire.
And wasting your money there.
Only it costs money to do that.
The whole point is it's not what you're doing, and it's not about guilt. Do you get what I'm saying? It's about knowing and being able to process correctly. How would you all feel if you came to my class and I had phone calls and you would not be happy campers. Okay? So it's something that I've chosen to not allow in my life. And there are teachers that do this. There are teachers that sit and eat, and if a student needs it, they have to come and talk to the teacher. And that's not happening because I understand what business is like. You need to get your money's worth, right? Okay, so you need to do your timings so that you can say yes or no. And just doing that alone will create because we're taking a technique of time management from the left brain to the right brain. Everything in your life will start to have time management, everything. Because when it goes to the right brain, you actually solve the problems. You can actually say yes or no. You can sleep in if you don't have anything to do without guilt. Does that make sense? And if you're not going to time, you really need to time, because it does give you practice.
Oh, yeah.
It does give you practice. And if that is the way to practice, not the other way. You will become an expert on your machine with 2 quilts if you do quilts like this, just because you've timed it. And was it going to take you 5 years to get there?
I hope not.
If you time it
Yeah.
and time the actual practice time, it will be very, very quick, very quick. So timing actually takes something that's left brain and puts it right into the right brain. We all know that basic design is that 4 shapes, right? You know that? 4 shapes.
What portion is that?
I'm going to show you. Okay, we have the scroll, scallop, soft S, and teardrop. Those are the 4 basic shapes. In all of quilting, there's nothing any different. Okay. Third one, we have scroll, which is spiral, scallop, soft S, and and teardrop. So it doesn't matter what design you do. It all boils down to combinations of these. Okay, so those here, I'll just leave it here. So we have scroll, scallop, soft S, and teardrop or feather. So any combination of those creates design. I'm sure you've heard this before, right? You have, right? You know that.
No, I don't do that.
Really?
It's just educated.
Well, she's a designer. She does it intuitively.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So any combination. Are you ready? And this is, now remember, size is different. But it doesn't matter what size it is. You still have the 4 combinations. So if we do scroll and then add teardrops to the outside, what have we done? Outline back.
Scallops.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a scallop, right? That design.
Looks like a pretty.
She's translating for me. Okay, soft S, soft S, soft S, soft S, soft S, and go back. Okay, and then we can feather that. Okay.
Scallop and teardrop, when we did that one.
Scallop. Well, we can do it different. Scallop or scroll.
Scallop and a teardrop.
Scallop, teardrop. Okay, scallop and teardrop. Okay. And come back. And let's feather that. What do y'all think of that one?
Do it the other way, do it teardrop and then scallops.
That one's good. Okay. So teardrop, then scallop? Sure. Then scallops. Poor Neil, he's tired. Do you see how the combinations go? Soft S is the most common shape used. And we have 3 of them. And scallop out. And the minute you know these shapes is when you make money. Because it doesn't matter what I have. It's all those shapes. Okay, so if we have that, let's change that just a little bit. And let's just make it more of a triangle. About 8 years ago, this was nothing. I mean, that was everything. People thought that was cool.
Oh, yeah.
Now you guys are jaded. Okay, are we done?
Something better, huh?
You want more? What do you want? How about a paisley? Okay, paisley starts with a small s, big tail. Okay, let's put some scallops on the inside. And feather the little booger. Can you see how this works? And the minute that you know these shapes, that's when you get rhythm. We can add more. You want to add more?
I got a question real quick.
Yeah.
Like we've done a lot of like Egyptian keys and stuff like that. Like, because of the flow of it, you consider that a scallop.
It is. It's a version of the scroll.
So it's very. So all these shapes can, change form.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. And where did these shapes really come from? They do. Part of seeing auras and all the energy thing is that I get symbols also. These are all the symbols that ancients have seen. So if you look at your fingerprint, that's that. Sign for eternity is that. What's that sign for? Pisces. Water. Water. Water or flow. What's this sign? What is this? The female form. Can you see that? So if you have it like this, and you go all the way around, what do we have? Yin and the yang. What is this? That's a feather, right? Isn't that cool? Did you all know you were doing that when you quilt? No. Is you were putting symbols and meanings into your quilts. Didn't know that. That's why my quilts have energy. Huh? It is that deep. It is that deep. You didn't know you were that deep? You are that deep. Yes. So the minute that we make these symbols, where does it go? And the minute we may have the symbols have meaning, where does it go? Big time. And the left brain understands it too, right? Because we have a place to file that information. Does that make sense?
I'll look at all my designs differently.
Okay, so we're actually communicating with eternity, with our spirit, everything in quilting. But the problem is that when you all are doing it, where are you going? Have to get the job done. Okay. You're going left brain.
Yeah.
And quilting is all right brain and symbols. Yeah. And the minute you know the symbols, then you know what to say. It's just like music. Are any of you from background with music? Well, you know there's 8 notes, right? Okay. Yeah. And how many songs have been written with 8 notes? In flats and sharps, I know that. Yeah. Millions, and there's millions more to endless. That's the symbols of music. Symbols of quilting is half that, 4. And how many millions of patterns? Look at the book.
Yeah.
And there's not a single design in there that doesn't encompass these 4 shapes. Not a single one. It might be a little more formal.
Yeah.
So when you practice and do this, guess what you're going to need to practice? Because I just told you to do it. Did I tell you how? Did I tell you how? Now you know how. Does that make sense? So you have the 4 shapes. You go to this, and then you time density of those shapes and different combinations of those shapes. This still makes sense to you, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's do some more combinations. I'll just do some. Are you ready? And we feather it. I'm only going to go half. We're going to come back and then outline, do start again. Can you see that in a clip? Maybe we want a little bit more down here, so you add scallops. But we always have to travel, so you need 2. And we start another one.
I can see a border coming. It's going to go on from there.
Yeah. Why was that so easy? Because it flowed, didn't it? So if something flows, what's going to happen? You're going to do it really fast. Does that make sense? So you don't want a lot of jerky-jacky things. You want to flow. And the reason it flowed is because each one of those shapes fit into a certain space. And that is projection. Okay? This is a great exercise, projection. Okay. Did I do it right? Yes? Did I do it right?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Are you ready for projection? Okay. If you look at my hand, I'm going to just put a teardrop in there or a feather. Can you see it? Yeah? Really? Can you see it again? Yes? No? Yeah? Okay, if it went away, you're not projecting. All right? So let me draw it again.
Okay.
Can you see it? Can you see it? Okay, and you have to put it there, right? Can you all see it? You're not seeing it yet, right?
I'm not seeing it.
Okay, so can you see, I always use the refrigerator, but can you see your refrigerator in your house? Okay, put your refrigerator in my hand. Can you see it there? You don't have to actually project it, just see it in your head.
No.
No? Let's do it again. Okay, can you see the teardrop?
Yeah.
Okay, is it there? Can you see it? Can you see the letter A in my hand?
Yeah.
Okay, can you see my hand? Is there an A or a feather?
I see a feather.
Okay, if you can't see a feather, do the alphabet, because you're just learning to project. Okay? Feather? Did you see a feather? You're projecting. I didn't even draw it over here. You're projecting. Did you see a reverse feather? Yeah? Yeah? If you can do that, you can quilt without marking. Yeah. So, can you see a circle in my hand? Okay, let me draw it. Okay? When you're doing a circle, you want to put a dot in the center. Can you see the dot? Okay, and then you want to stitch around the dot. Okay, can you see the circle? Okay. Can you see the circle? Okay, can you see the circle flattened? So it's an oval. You can see it, huh? The right brain is really powerful. Okay, it really is powerful. So let's do a scroll. Come into the center. It's a little big on the bottom and back up. Do you see that? Yes? Can you see the scroll? Yeah? Can you see it? Okay, hold that projection. Can you see the scroll over here? It went the other way, didn't it? That's how powerful the right brain is, but you have to let the left brain get out of the way. The shapes gives the left brain some place to file it. There are key things that you need to be able to do when you do projection. You need stop. You need to know where to stop. And these are actual actions you have to do this. So you need to know where to stop, and that's wherever the change of direction. And then you project the feather, okay? You need to then project And you have to hold that projection, and then you have to stitch. Okay? You have to hold the projection through the stitching process. So if it goes away...
So are you saying for each of those teardrops, you have to know where you're going to stop, you project that one teardrop, and then you stitch it?
And you have to be able to make it little or big, little or big. Okay? Does that mean you totally got this?
I got it now, yes.
Okay. Huh? Well, part of the magic of being a Taurus is you understand how things grow, just intuitively. That's how they grow, isn't it? Yeah, it is how it grows. All right. So, and you cannot do the whole thing. You can only do one thing at a time. That's it. But we are going to do some a little bit far ahead stuff, okay? And that's after we eat. I need to fill your bellies before we go there, all right? But this is enormous. So when we get back from eating lunch, we're going to do some little drawings of these background fills with some projection stuff, okay? Okay, can you see the spine? Mm-hmm. All right. I hate being my back to you all, but is that okay? I'm not trying to be rude. I know. And then I'm going to put my fences or my boundaries in. And some people can actually project those. I don't do that. I like my boundaries. So what's the first thing I need to do? All right. So let's go ahead and do the spine, and that generates the backbone for the feather. Now, years gone by, they actually did the spines after the feathers. Do you remember that? Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking, but there you are. Now, when you're working on a spine, you don't want to watch the needle. You want to watch ahead. Okay, so we're going to stop right here, and we want to echo back. And I'm going to open that up. And cross over. Right there. We're going to do the inside first. And when we're in a strange place, which is right there, what do? Small one, right? Okay, so let's do a small one, and then I'm going to nest out. So I'm going to stop right there and project. Did you all do that? We're projecting. Okay, and now we're back to a stop. I'm going to project the next one so I know where I'm going. Are you projecting? And project the next one. And we pull that one clear to our fence. Now we're getting to kind of a weird place, don't you think? Okay, so we're going to put a half of one. It's actually a little bit smaller than a half, but... And then project the nested one. So we want them to grow from that space. Stop and project the next one. And project the next one. And project. And project. We want to stop and project. And did you notice that I really didn't stop the machine? I just stopped my thought process. We're going to project. Now we want to outline back. And I use the outline to rest. Do you feel a sense of resting? So I'm not straining myself all the time for design. We're going to get right back to the beginning and start on the other side. And did you feel a sense of rhythm with that? Yes? Did you feel a sense of boredom? No? We were okay?
I was amazed at how you could go that slow and still have accuracy, because when I move my machine that slow, it's wobbly.
Oh, you don't know about rice bags.
Yeah. I use foam and rice bags to do that. So I stabilize, the foam is right here. After we do this for a little bit, I'll actually advance the quilt and show you guys. But the foam acts like cartilage, and it's hitting the base of the machine and causing some resistance. And then I have the rice bag on it to stop that wobble. And then my stitch regulator, it's a little more accurate than the Gamel, but it still works really well with that much pressure on it. Actually better, quite frankly. Okay, let's go ahead and do the outside edge here. Okay, so I'm projecting the feather, and I want you all to participate with this, okay? So the feather needs to go right here, and we come back, and we want to ride the spine a few stitches. Can you see that? And then project the next feather. And ride the spine a few stitches and project the next feather. You want to make sure that you stop in your thought process in between each design. Now, if you don't stop in your thought process, what's going to happen?
You're gonna forget where you're going.
You're going to do the really ugly feathers. So when you have an ugly feather, I know you didn't stop and project. All right, so we want to project and put the next one in. And because we put the boundaries in it, our feathers are going to flow. One's not bigger than the other. Now on outside curves, they actually flow really smoothly. So you don't have to put little ones in. Can y'all see that? When I start a feather, I want to maintain, so I'm going to stop right here, I want to maintain my 45-degree angle, or somewhere in that ballpark. So if you lose it, you want to very gently get it back. Now, are we getting to a funny spot again? Yeah, and it's a half, not a quarter. We're going to put a half in. And what that also does is it gives a little bit of personality in your piece. Okay, there we are. So now we've got this. Now if you wanted to go and do a continuous, you would do another spine and then fill another feather and then outline that whole unit on the other side. Okay, does that make sense? All right, but let's go ahead and outline it because I want to do some other things with this. Now, how long did it take me to do this feather? Did anybody time me? 7 minutes? Yeah, the film's timing me here. So if that was 7 minutes, if I did a 10-inch square, it'd be maybe, what, 12 minutes? Well, I would say a 10-inch square at this level, it would take 10 minutes. Okay? Does that make sense? So how much did I charge? Somebody help me. $10, 10-inch square. If I do a 60-inch quilt, times 36, 360 for that density. And you're seeing camera density. This is, let me put my finger up here. Can you see? Okay, does that make sense? When you're doing feathers, and feathers are wonderful all like that, but feathers are even better when they layer, don't you think? When you layer.
That's what you mean.
All right, so if I'm doing a feather, say I want to put the spine, I don't know if you can get this on camera, but I'm going to put a spine right like that and swirl here. Okay, can you all see that? And my boundaries now are this, right? The other feather. And my outside boundaries are the edge of the quilt. Now on the inside, we've got to also generate a boundary there. Okay? Can you see that?
A little darker. No, I just can't see it.
There you go.
Yeah, and end up having a whole classroom of directors. Nope, that's good. It's good. I like it. Yeah, I like people to be independent and strong. Okay, so that's my spine. And I want it to swirl in here because that looks really cool, don't you think, when I did that? Now, I kind of want to break this up in 2 sections because that's pretty long. So I'm going to break it in half right here. Is that okay with everybody? When it's any bigger than your hand, and you can break it up because it works just much better, at least at this level of quilting. So I'm going to go ahead and do my spine. And we're breaking it in half and then going back. Okay, now we're going to do our little feather to get us started. I want to leave enough space that I can actually outline back. Want to make sure you project. Okay, we're almost to an inside curve, don't y'all think? So let's do a half of one. Then we're going to nest out. Now, are you projecting with me? Are you projecting with me? Or am I entertaining you? Okay, so we're going to project. Now, what do you think I need to do here?
Your outline, go back.
No, what we actually need to do is a spine. So then we can outline all the way back. Can you see? And the reason I didn't want to do the spine in one shot is it's really hard to keep it the curve real nice. So sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't, but it's much easier to do it in 2. Okay, and now we can go ahead and do our feathers. Make sure you're projecting with me. So remember to maintain your 45-degree angle. You see how I'm using the fence there, or the boundary? Okay, now I want to outline back. And you can also go up the spine, but let's outline back so you can see how that really makes that feather pop. See how the feather's popping? Okay, there we are. Now we're going to do the other side. And remember, we're going to use that outside basting as our fence. Y'all remember that? Okay, so let's get over there. Got the door opened. Okay, now I'm going to pull these feathers all the way to the corner because that's our fence or our boundaries that we want to fill. Did you all know that you could do that? Pull those feathers to a square area. So are any of you getting bored yet? Huh? No? No? I'm getting bored. So what happens when you get bored? You just push through it? What do you guys do when you get bored?
Do something else.
Take a break? Really?
Get up and stretch.
What do you think I do when I get bored?
Do something else.
You think?
Change the direction of feathers.
There you go.
I shake those feathers up. Okay, so were you all getting bored now, really?
I was.
You were getting bored?
A little bit.
Oh, I love Aries. They get bored real quick.
You didn't even have to get close to the end. I was.
Okay, so now you know something about yourself, right? You got to shake it up a bit. All right. So if I'm getting bored, guess who else is getting bored? I know Aries are.
And the judges.
And the judges, and well, who else? The cameraman's getting bored. So what do you think we might want to do if you get bored?
Turn on some loud music.
Okay, the boredom's inside of us, not on the outside. So what do you think about every little bit doing something else? What do you think? Did that take some boredom away? What? You want more?
I'm sorry. I'm on a roll now.
Okay, let's do another one. Okay? And we just spiral it in. And the projection's still there. I'm still seeing that feather projected. I'm just doing an additional thing. So I'm back to this spot, and now I can finish. Okay. How are we doing with boredom? Is it better? What's that? I know, isn't that cool? Pardon me?
What if you put a tendril on the outside? Would it screw up the feather?
Oh, what do you mean on the outside? Right here?
Yeah, scroll on the outside.
Out here? Well, but remember this class is about boundaries. So we can, absolutely, but the class is about, you know, getting those boundaries. But I'm going to show you what else I'm going to do here. Okay, we're going to do a few more. And the two of you that were in class yesterday, you know what's coming, right? Okay, let's project one more. And then I'm going to bury some feathers behind. What just happened with those feathers? Can you all see? Am I far enough out of the way that you can see? What happened? They went away or they went behind?
They went behind, yeah. It's finished.
So did it come more alive? When you layer, it becomes more alive. You know what the DNA strand looks like? Why does it look so alive? Because there's some behind and some in front, and it's spinning. Okay, does that make sense? All right. Now, when we go to an inside curve like this, to get these feathers to work really well, we have to open up the inside. Okay, see how tight they are right here? They need to be more open here. Okay, and it's really important to maintain your 45-degree angle. So I want to project and leave a little opening so we can get back out. And we want to spread the spacing towards the inside. Can you see how I spread it out just a little bit? And if you spread that spacing out, they will automatically spin. Can you see that? There you are. And then we outline to get back out. Now, what do y'all think?
Very pretty. Very pretty.
Okay, I have to see it on camera too.
That's gorgeous.
And see how it flows? There was really no marking at all. So what are the rules with the feathers? Let's get over here and I'll point them out. Okay. We have to establish the spine, establish the boundaries. Okay. Then what are the rules? Yes. Okay, so if we're doing this one, we did the spine and came back. And we have the boundaries. Then when we start, what do?
Follow the spine. Follow the spine.
But we do a smaller one. Did you all see how I did a smaller one when you started? So can someone write the rules down?
Start small.
Yeah, you start with a small one. And what that does is it establishes a base for you to build off of. And it's not an itty-bitty, it's like a half one. All right, then I start nesting out. Can you see that? Okay, it's nesting out. When you get to an inside curve, you want a half one again. Okay, and then we nest out from that. And then continue with the feathers, maintaining your 45-degree angle. I need to measure that because I think it's a little less than 45, but is it about a 30? Then you outline back to get to the beginning again, and then you repeat the process on the other side. How many of you had a favored side when you quilt? Do any of you have a side that is favored?
Mine is the left side.
Yours is left? The outside better, so it's your left. Anybody else? Okay, one of the rules is to do the side that's the hardest for you first. Because it's not about one side being more than the other, it's just your focus. Okay, so until you get both balanced, especially my Libra student here, you want to do the side that's the hardest first. And it's just like getting chores done before you go play. If you get your chores done before you go play, you can play with a free mind. Okay, everyone lost that focus why the chores were done first, so we could really play. But if you do the side that's the hardest first, what's going to happen?
Yeah, that one's going to be easier.
When you get to the other side, what's going to happen for you there?
Flow goes a little better.
Yes! There you go. Did you feel the difference? Okay, so let's do an exercise. Do it again. Don't make it so big this time. Okay? And let's follow those steps. Okay, so what are the steps?
Spine.
And your boundaries. Right. You got to have your boundaries. Okay? All right, then you want to do what? Stitch the spine. And then come back again. And which side is the hardest side for you?
Side that's closest to my hand.
Okay, then do it first. Okay, and start with a small one. And then build from there. Okay, now when you're doing your feathers, remember you have to ride the spine about 2 stitches, right? To give time for your mind to catch up. And I don't think some of you are projecting. Okay, so we forgot to project, did we? You just jumped right in, didn't you? Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. You just probably need to watch the video more to get those paths built, is all. Everybody can do it. If you can't do it, it means you're not projecting. Simple, because you guys can trace. I know you can. Was it easier to do the hard side first? It was easier, wasn't it?
I thought this was the easy side, but as it works out, the other side is easier.
Why is it easier?
I don't know, it seems to flow better with, I don't know.
I think it's because you flop the sides. That's why it's easier. It's not about one side being more than the other. It's your focus that changes. It's like if you teach school, it's always the first and the last thing people remember, never the stuff in the middle. So it's all about focus. Yeah, you're doing good. It's just awful itty bitty, girl.
I know.
You like miniatures, huh?
No, I don't. No,
Look how beautiful.
Yes.
That is really nice. How you doing over here? Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay, guys, I need to really, I'm going to walk you one. How many times have I said 45 degree? And anywhere from 30 to 45 degrees, that angle needs to be of the feather.
Several times.
Like 100. And what's happening? You're going straight into it.
Yeah, one
Okay,
side
why are-
okay and this side not.
Why are we going straight into it? Tell me why.
Because we're not curving it enough.
Because you're stopping short. So if you take that same feather and pull it all the way back.
Down here, and then go back.
Yeah, they're too straight
And
up
if
and down.
you don't ride that spine just a little bit, say I'm stitching right here. And I projected this feather. And if I come straight into that spine, like most of you are doing, guess what I can't do for the next feather? I can't project because I haven't pulled my machine out of the way enough to project the next feather. Okay, so follow my finger. If we're right here and we projected the next feather and it's stitched, so now you can see it, right? Okay, so I'm going to stitch, stitch, stitch. And if I stop right here, I can't project the next feather, can I? I've got to stitch back out of the way to project the next feather. Okay, and then stitch a little bit. And it's about 3 stitches out of the way. And that gives you enough time to actually think about the feather and you won't get lost. Okay, so let's do it again. The only thing on their supply was a sketch pad.
I don't remember that. I think it depends on.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah. That had to get in your head that maybe I'm going to draw. Okay, now remember to ride that spine and project. You have to project. If you're not projecting, it's not going to work. So if you lose the projection, stop and reestablish it. Oh, there you go, girl. Yeah, pull it all the way to the boundary. Don't lose your boundaries. Your designing is going to be totally different now, isn't it?
It is. It is. I've been re-inspired.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been designing a lot of requests, that people want.
That works.
It stifles me. Sometimes I have to just say no. Like somebody wanted me to put skeletons with my roses, and I said no.
Okay.
They wanted it for a Holly Davidson quilt, Skeletons and roses go together. I guess it's one of their symbols. And I said, no, I don't want to do that.
That is gorgeous.
You like that one?
Yes, I do.
I really like your micro stuff. I'm going to have a tough time going big again.
So don't go big.
I never thought I'm going to have to charge $5,000.
Well, the whole point is that you now you know.
Oh, I'll tell you that.
But all quilters love detail. I don't care who it is, unless they are so greedy. And if they need money that bad, they need to buy a Statler. And just push a button, then go work on a machine that you can do your work on.
I'm confused about where, if I wanted to stack one.
Wherever you're bored. When you start to get bored, stack one. There's no rule.
Okay.
You just angle the 45 just a little bit.
Well, I want to do another whole feather
Okay.
on top of that feather. And I'm not sure whether to go this direction.
Wow, you're way into design. Okay, so whatever direction the original one is, go the other direction. Is that a good answer?
Yeah, but I think what I want to do is go underneath that whole feather.
So do it. Trust your intuition. We've just opened up this big, the box, what is it called?
The box.
Yeah, you know, Pandora's box with you. Yeah. Well, what I'm doing is giving you the tools that you can do whatever you want. You just have to set your boundaries. Okay, I'm going to have you just practice for a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and do some more. Okay? Are you ready? So you're really doing it. You really are. You're doing it.
Better.
Yeah. Now just make it bigger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, make it bigger. Because if you quilt like that,
It's gonna take me 100 years.
yeah, and you're losing your loft. You're losing your fluff.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I don't even do stipple that tight normally.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't want to lose our loft. It's okay to practice, but you still need to understand density. Okay.
Right.
Make sure you put your fences in. I want a center line. Just do a nice soft S. Okay? And when you put your boundaries in, don't make them the same size. Pull them out like I did. So that they wave in and out in different sizes. Now see what's going to... That's what I did. What makes that feather look so nice? Really look at it. It's the small ones and the big ones.
Right.
They're not all one size. That's boring to do all one size. Don't you think it's boring to do all one size? So I'm going to do another one. I'm going to put my spine right here. Okay? Can you guys see that? And my boundary, I'm going to do my boundary, but I want my feathers to go up underneath these funky feathers over here. Okay? So my boundary for these feathers will be right like that. And through those. What do you think? Okay? You're going, how the heck, right? Are we going, how the heck?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have a mess there, lady. On top of it.
You think I'm going to have a mess?
No, you won't, but it looks like you might. You're gonna have a collision.
You think? So if we mark that up and through that funky, isn't that funky feather cool? So we're pulling this, we're going to do our boundaries up and through this stuff, which happens in quilts, doesn't it? My ladies that were here yesterday, you don't forget anymore, huh? No?
I'm so ready to try it.
Yeah, yeah. And what was it? What was that other phrase? I keep losing that. The caveat. Well, we'll play it. If we have time, we'll play a little bit with the caveat. Okay. All right. So, if we've got this other side, do we want feathers that maybe come out to here and then get narrower? What do you think? That's kind of a pretty shape, don't you think? Okay. What do you think? Is that a good shape? All right. So your boundaries don't need to be exactly even, do they? So what makes really pretty cursive? What makes that? Or calligraphy. Calligraphy starts with the lines, but what does it do with the lines? It swirls away from it and then back to it to balance, right? So our quilting should be like calligraphy, right? Okay, so we're going to do the spine, and remember I want to put some circles in the spine, right? So to do some circles, I have to open the space up a little bit more. So we need to open it up. And we don't want it to be exact because we don't want to have to be too perfect, right? Okay, so we're there. All right, now what's the rule when we start?
Small.
Small so we can build, right? All right, so we want to ride the spine a few stitches and then pull it out. Okay, and then I want to project the next feather and pull it to the boundaries. And we keep building it until it gets to that 30 to 45 degree angle. Can you see? And remember the riding the spine. Now we're coming to the next one. We're pulling it clear to the boundaries all the way. And back again. Now I'm going to project, but I still want to project to a boundary, don't I? Okay, so I've got to project to the boundary. And I'm going to stop short. And we're going to stitch around, and what that does is bury that feather behind that other piece. All right, let me do another one. So you have to project to do this. So I can see the feather, I'm projecting it. Now I'm following my projection to this point. Now I'm going to follow that over to the other line on my projection. Are y'all seeing that line? And then pull it back. Can you see how that feather is now behind the other? Let's do another one. Now I'm almost getting bored here. What do I do when I'm bored? Change it up. Okay, so that is done. How? Change directions, right? Okay, so we still need to project. Are you projecting? So basically what we're doing is cutting off the tops of these feathers under that other thing. Can you see that? And because we're changing direction, that gives us variety. And we always want to go back to anywhere between 30 and 45 degrees with the angle. We're almost done with that burying under. Okay, and the next one, we're still going to bury it under, but it's buried under the funky feathers. Can you still see it? So you're holding the projection, and we're pulling it back. Now what's happening to the feather? Can you see? Okay, one more. And this one we can actually finish. And are you still projecting? No. Okay, now we're going to do the circles up the center. Now when you're doing circles, let me get over here. You have to project just a dot in the center. Can you guys see that right there? Okay, so I'm going to just project a dot right there. And then you go around the dot. So as I go, it's not the circle I'm projecting just a dot. And we ride one side. Now I'm projecting a dot and then putting the circle in. Okay, so I project a dot and then put the circle in. Are y'all seeing the dot? Yes? If not, just say yes. Let the room in your brain for it to actually happen. Okay, there you are. So what happened with the feather? Is it a mess?
You can visualize it behind you.
You actually see it. Your right brain sees it. What's that called?
Totally cool.
I love the projection.
It's projection, but it's also called the lost line effect. And master artists use that in their work. And what is the lost line effect, do you think? How does it work? What is the magic behind it?
It makes your brain put in what you want.
You become personally invested in whatever you're looking at. Does that make sense? So you know that feather's not there, but somehow you guys put it there, right? Pretty cool. Really makes a difference in whatever you're doing. Like, I'm sure you know Diane Gadiski's work.
Yes.
Guess what she does? She might mark it, though. I don't know if she does it freeform or not. She might mark it. Okay. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Okay, let's take a break. We're going to do the other side, but we're going to add a caveat in there. What do you think a caveat means? I know my two girls know, but what is a caveat? Does anybody know stained glass? You know those things, they're called caveats. And they're big balls of pretty glass that they stick right in the middle of stained glass as a focal point, right? This other side, I want to add a caveat. So usually I just like doing maybe a diamond, okay? So right in the middle of the feathers, I'm going to add a diamond. What do you think? Now we want, if you're doing caveats, you want to do contrast of texture. Curved lines and straight lines are contrasting, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In the diamond, let's just put angles. Just straight lines. And I know you can't really see it, but you will be able to when we stitch it. Okay? And why would I add a caveat?
Interest, visual interest.
Okay? Who said that? If I'm bored, who else is bored?
The judge.
Judges are bored. Who else is bored?
People looking at it.
People looking at it. So I'm going to bury a feather in here. Just a little bit bigger. Now we're almost to the caveat. I'm going to do one more. And when you start doing the caveat, you need to put your feather, so can you project the feather behind it? And when you actually hit that feather, you need to do the caveat. Right? So we want to do the outside of it. I'm going to go ahead and do those straight lines. Now we're back to the projected one. Okay, so we're going to get back. Can you still see the projected one? Yay! Okay, now can you see the next projected one? If you can't, just fib. Say you can, just so you leave that void for it to happen. Now can you see the next one? Yeah? Can you see the next one? And we're going to outline back. Okay. That'd look really cool in a feather, didn't you think?